Hey everyone, welcome to The Explainer. We're skipping the usual pleasantries today because we need to dive straight into a massive, hidden nutritional crisis, one that's silently reshaping our health, our waistlines, and honestly, our longevity. We're talking about a fundamental misunderstanding of the actual food on our plates, and I promise you, by the end of this, you are going to completely rethink your next meal.
Just take a look at this number, 50 to 70%. Across the board, statistics and dietary studies reveal a pretty staggering reality. On average, Indians are consuming 50 to 70% less protein than our bodies actually need to thrive. We aren't just coming up a little bit short here, we are massively deficient. And this deficiency is the hidden root cause of a whole cascade of health issues, from widespread obesity to severe muscle loss as we age.
Which brings us to a really tough question, one that kind of challenges everything we grew up believing. We've all been taught that our traditional home-cooked thali is perfectly balanced, right? It's comforting, it has deep cultural significance, and it definitely feels healthy. But from a strict macronutrient perspective, is your healthy, home-cooked meal actually starving your muscles while quietly feeding your fat cells? Unfortunately, the math tells a very different story.
Okay, let's try a little plate shock here to put this into perspective. 9. To get just 10 grams of protein from wheat, you would literally have to eat 9 full rotis. 9! Imagine that massive pile of bread sitting in front of you. 10 grams of protein is an incredibly small amount, yet the sheer volume of carbohydrates you have to force down just to extract that tiny bit of protein is completely overwhelming.
When you break down the actual math of a typical rice or roti-based thali, the picture becomes super clear. Let's say you've got a normal portion of roti, some dal, maybe a little vegetable curry, and some yogurt. To scrape together a measly 20 grams of protein from this traditional setup, you are forced to consume between 1,100 and 1,300 calories. Structurally, the calories you're getting from protein make up less than 10% of the meal. The vast majority of the energy you are taking in is just pure carbs and fats.
So let's dive into what this actually means, because this macro imbalance has created a totally unique demographic reality in India. We call it sarco-obesity. It's basically a double whammy. You have the simultaneous presence of sarcopenia, which is the severe loss of muscle mass, combined with obesity, which is excess body fat. We are losing the vital, metabolically active muscle that protects our bones, while at the exact same time packing on dangerous visceral fat.
Section 1. The Protein Hunger Connection.
So, we need to transition from looking at our plates to looking at how our brains and bodies actually process hunger. Why exactly does a lack of protein cause us to continuously overeat and gain weight? Well, let me introduce you to a really fascinating scientific study detailed by researchers Simpson and Rubenheimer in their brilliant book, Eat Like Animals. They wanted to understand the primal drive of hunger, right? So they took 360 cockroaches, creatures famous for surviving absolutely anything, and divided them across 24 different diets just to see what would happen.
Now, what's really interesting here is the behavioral contrast. The cockroaches given a high-protein, low-carb diet, they ate until they were satisfied, and then they just stopped. But the ones on a high-carb, low-protein diet, which, by the way, is pretty much our standard thali, they just kept eating. They continuously overate and literally got fat. And researchers found this identical pattern holds true across the entire animal kingdom, from insects all the way up to mammals.
And this leads us to what scientists call the protein leverage hypothesis. It states that humans will overeat calories until their minimum daily protein requirements are met. You see, Mother Nature absolutely prioritizes protein for survival. So if your thali is lacking protein, your body's going to keep firing off those hunger signals. It will literally force you to keep reaching for another roti, another snack, or another sweet, packing on all those excess carbs and fats because it is desperately searching for those missing amino acids.
Section 2. Calculating your daily needs. Let's find your target. Now that we understand the problem, it's time to figure out exactly how much protein you actually need to break this crazy cycle of overeating and muscle loss. For years, the World Health Organization recommended this totally outdated baseline of 0.8 grams per kilogram of body weight. But honestly, that old metric merely measures the bare minimum nitrogen balance required so you don't literally waste away. It was tested on young people and really doesn't account for optimal living. Modern clinical science now points to a much higher target, 1.2 to 1.6 grams per kilogram, to actually preserve your muscle longevity and thrive.
So the absolutely crucial point here is this. 1.2 grams per kilogram is the bare minimum for your health. If you're serious about fighting off sarcobesity, preserving your muscle mass as you age, and controlling your appetite for weight loss, then 1.6 grams per kilogram, that is your optimal target for daily muscle synthesis.
Let's actually walk through a super quick calculation together. Step 1. Find your body weight in kilograms.
Step 2, multiply that by 1.2. So if you're a 70-kilogram person, you need roughly 84 or 85 grams minimally every single day. Step 3, multiply by 1.6 for your optimal intake. That means our 70-kilogram person should realistically be aiming for over 110 grams optimally. As you can see, this is a far cry from the 20 grams you get in a standard thali.
Section 3. Busting the kidney myth.
Now, I know exactly what you're thinking. I can almost feel the psychological barrier going up. You're wondering if eating that much protein is actually safe, right? Like, does a high-protein diet actually damage healthy kidneys? It's honestly amazing how confirmation bias works in our society. People will binge on sugar, drink alcohol, totally ignore terrible lifestyle factors without a second thought. But the very moment you suggest having a protein shake, suddenly everyone becomes deeply concerned about kidney stones and renal failure.
Well, let's look at the actual clinical evidence. Renowned researcher Dr. Lane Norton conducted these extensive trials where perfectly healthy subjects were given massive doses of protein, up to 4.4 grams per kilogram of body weight. Guys, that's nearly 3 times our optimal target. And the result? Perfect kidney function. Their healthy kidneys simply adapted and increased their efficiency to process the higher intake.
Let's definitively put this myth to rest right now. There is zero clinical evidence that high protein damages healthy kidneys. It is simply a biological misunderstanding. Now, look, if you already have a pre-existing kidney disease, that's a medical issue, and you definitely need a specialized diet. But for individuals with healthy kidneys, your body simply extracts what it needs from muscle synthesis, and any excess protein just harmlessly passes right out of your system through your urine.
Section 4. Smart vegetarian food swaps.
Okay, so with the math clear and the myths busted, how do we actually hit that 1.2 to 1.6 gram target, especially on a vegetarian diet, without totally exploding our daily calorie count? You really have to watch out for the hidden calorie trap here. So many people try to get their protein from traditional vegetarian favorites, but look at the cost. A plate of po'ara might give you 11 grams of protein, but it brings over 300 calories of carbs with it. Full-fat paneer gives you 18 grams of protein, but costs you 265 calories loaded with fat. And peanuts? Sure, 26 grams of protein sounds great, until you realize it comes with a massive 618 calories. You will easily gain weight trying to hit your protein goals this way.
So, what's the solution? You need highly actionable, low-calorie vegetarian swaps, and this brilliantly illustrates exactly what I mean. Just 100 grams of soya chunks gives you up to 16 grams of protein for only about 150 calories. Low-fat paneer delivers an incredible 23 grams of protein for that same 150 calories. Firm tofu and skyr yogurt are equally magical. These are intelligent, easy swaps that allow you to hit your protein targets easily without derailing your calorie limits.
And finally, we just have to talk about protein supplements, whether that's whey or plant-based. Honestly, forget the stigma. These are simply modern food tools. They offer the absolute most efficient calorie-to-protein ratio available anywhere. In fact, if you get unflavored protein powder, you don't even have to drink it as a shake. You can just mix it right into your roti dough or pour it over your cook's dal to effortlessly elevate the protein profile of your favorite traditional meals. Which brings us to the final, absolute most critical question you have to ask yourself today. Knowing what you know now about sarcobesity, the primal hunger mechanism, and the real math behind your meals, will you adjust your plight to protect your muscles and your longevity, or are you going to keep accidentally feeding your fat cells? The science is incredibly clear, the math is simple, and the choices are now entirely in your hands. Take control of your next meal, and I'll see you in the next explainer.